Welcome to DAExMachiNation. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you all for joining us. Another edition of DAExMachiNation. In the house tonight, we got Carrie Pocket Doc Davis from the great state of Colorado, and Robbie Jed Rains coming to us from South Crackalacky, the land that is both damp and beautiful at the same time. But it's kind of like Missouri. It ain't the heat; it's the humidity that'll kill you.
Facts.
Doc's got up there in the mountains where the humidity ain't quite so bad. But out here, whew, it's like stepping into a sauna every time you leave your front door.
Yeah. That's what it was in Mississippi when I was there last week. Walk outside, you better have your change of clothes with you.
Well, I tell you, we've had so much water this spring and into the early summer that mosquitoes are thicker than freaking, oh my God, they're everywhere. You can't go outside. I've always referred to them as mosquitodactyls. Yeah, they're practically pterodactyl size. You can call the airport and find out where they are by asking about the aircraft registration number on their tails.
Yeah, we've had some good storms here in the month of May. We have more rain than Seattle did, so we had some 90% humidity days for a minute, but not hot like it is down there, man.
Swamp ass.
Before we jump in too far, Steve Payton is not going to be with us tonight. He's one of our mods. His son is graduating, and I want to say congratulations to him. And it's also my daughter-in-law's birthday party today. Her birthday was actually Thursday, but we had her surprise birthday party today. So happy birthday, Taylor. And Solange, I hope you guys all had awesome days.
How funny is my new daughter-in-law's name? How funny is it your daughter-in-law's name's Taylor and my daughter's name's Taylor?
Yeah. Blame Nathan for that.
It is what it is, right?
Before we jump in, because we are going to be talking about missing park rangers, something just popped up literally just minutes before we went live. Apparently it happened yesterday, but I just discovered it, and Doc's going to tell us a little bit about it because it's rock kicking distance from his place.
Yeah, so this is obviously still under investigation, and this is from the Denver Post, and it was basically human remains found in Rocky Mountain National Park along Trail Ridge Road by the Alpine Visitor Center. And it said the remains were found near the visitor center, and that the person's identity has not been confirmed yet. So they're not going to be saying anything about it until they can get everything relatives been found and notified and released to them. So right now it's just everything is just the blanket human remains found near the trail, so who knows what it could be, but it's near the visitor center, so it's not like it's and down in a big cliff or anything like that. And it was right there close to the visitor center. So
here's something that I found extremely interesting about that. If there was a person dead in the park, that means at some point they were looking for him. Okay. And it was just off the trail. The remains were found just off the trail. Isn't that exactly like the missing 411? The remains are found in a place they have already searched.
Yep.
I mean, and here's the thing. If it was near a visitor center, certainly they would have searched all the territory surrounding that visitor center, yes? All the trails.
Yeah, and if it was right by the visitor center, they'd have smelled the decomp.
Absolutely. They would, they're all the trails coming in and out. So, Dr. 45-120 Sharp. No news about the conditions of remains old or.
They said skeletal.
They did. Somebody said.
I think it said skeletal.
Oh, okay. It said one said human body, one said human remains.
So, The one I saw, I think it said skeletal, but that was from the Colorado Sun, not from the Denver Post.
Okay.
I think that's what I said. I'd have to go hunt it up again.
Because Denver 7 and Sky High News, KUSA, Colorado, and NPS all just said human remains. I don't know. Yeah. None of the ones I've read. You see Colorado Sun. Yeah. So the altitude up there is about 12,183 feet. So
that's pretty good altitude. That's well over 2 miles up from sea level.
Yeah, and it said
what's the air like at that altitude?
Very thin, extremely thin. But this one dude, 2023 September 2023, an experienced trail runner from Fort Collins went missing, has not been found. His trip was planned for an area far from where the remains were found near the visitor center. So he wasn't even anywhere near where that visitor center is, but he's never been found. So, yeah, that's the one from Colorado Sun. I don't see anything about the condition of the remains. I'm curious. So we'll keep y'all posted on that because there's always something weird and funky going on out here.
Yeah. And anytime that they find human remains in an area where people travel a lot.
Yeah.
And to me, it almost sounds like those were deliberately placed.
That's what exactly it. Like, hey,
here you go.
Yeah, here's the body you've been looking for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, were you looking for that? Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, because and it's like DA said, man, you'd smell the decomp, especially near a visitor center. So, yeah, very, very weird.
Wendell says, DA, you're going to do any more Steve Lilly? I haven't yet, but I do have some other stories in mind that I probably will do at some point. Send them to Cam, see what he thinks. So, when we start talking about missing park rangers, there's something that definitely needs to be pointed out. That in these cases we're discussing, there's some very similar commonalities. One, these guys were all armed and were well acquainted with the areas they went with. These are areas they backpacked, camped, hunt, fished. These guys were very well connected to their environment. They knew the trails, they knew the area. In most cases, they even had GPS and sat phones. So, in order for somebody to get lost with a GPS and a sat phone, they either got to be doing it deliberately or they can't get to them. But there's also another big commonality with them all too, is that even David Pilates tried to get the Department of Interior to release these files, and he pointed out to him that I have had missing persons files released to me before. I've done this before, and explained who he was. And when it came to park rangers, they will not release anything. So most of what we're going to find is either going to be highly redacted or just extremely limited information. But still, there's more than enough there to make us go, something's going on more than we're being told, especially since they will not release the information on the missing park rangers. And some of them have gone missing under some extremely bizarre circumstances. The one that Doc's going to start us out with happened is Rainier in Oregon or Washington?
Washington.
It's in Washington. Happened up in Washington State. And this one could possibly be people. But at the same time, what are Bigfoot if not just strange people? So while Doc goes over this one, it's a little bit lengthy, but just listen to the story. Listen to the sheer amount of information in this. It comes from a source that I don't really want to name the source, but it's got enough pertinent information in it that gives it a lot of credibility. Oh, we got a super chat from Kelly Sandiford. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Kelly. Thank you so much. But anyway, this one I'll let Doc go explain more about it, and then he can read that. Then we'll start. We'll discuss that one for a bit, because this one there's a lot of detail for us to discuss, and then we'll start talking about the other ones, because the other ones don't necessarily have this much detail, because it's very hard to find the full details. But we'll share with you what you know, and also pick y'all's brain and find out what you guys think is going on. But Doc, go ahead.
All right. See here, 25. That is the number of people who have gone missing at the park since the beginning of the year. Now, this is 2 years ago, so 2023. So with nothing being done or said about it, in fact, I'm pretty sure I'll lose my job when they find this posting. But I have other things to be scared of at this point, and this needs to get out. I'm a wilderness ranger at Mount Rainier. My job is to walk hundreds of miles of trails and wilderness in the park, looking for problems and helping lost and injured hikers. In the old days, any lost hiker would mean all of us going out together, putting together a search plan, and doing our best to get them home safely. Things are different today ever since the start of 2022. Whenever a person gets reported as missing, the family is assured we're on it and will do our best to find them and promise they will dispatch us to look. As soon as the family is gone, our bosses tell us that they'll have a search and rescue company take over, and if we know what's best for our jobs, we should just focus on checking trail conditions and doing the rest of our jobs. And so it's going on since 2022. At first, there were just a few people missing here and there all over the park. It didn't seem that unusual, other than our rangers not being involved in the search. But we figured it was some new policy and shrugged it off. More people started disappearing as the year went on, making all of us wonder what was going on and why it had been made clear to us as to we should to keep our mouths shut. Personally, I figured it was just a combination of bad trail conditions from a rough winter, an influx of inexperienced hikers in the Park Service trying to avoid looking bad when we needed more funding. Until last Thursday. It was an overcast day, and I was walking along the trail up to Ipsit Pass in the Carbon River area, humming quietly to myself to pass the time and wondering how far up I would go before I had to put on crampons. When I saw it, off the side of the trail, maybe 50 feet in the forest, there was an odd light on the forest floor. At first, I thought the light was just a reflection off the water, some trash had been left or something like that. It stayed steady. Maybe it was a lost flashlight. I'd walked this trail dozens of times and never had seen that. I knelt down, taking my pack off, and saw the light seemed to be coming from just under the dirt. For some reason, I felt uneasy. I looked around to see if anyone was nearby on the trail and saw no one. Shrugging, I reached into the dirt to poke at the light and see what it was. Poking around, I found the corner of a slightly open trapdoor that was at most only a foot wide on each side. It was camouflaged nearly perfectly. If it had not been just left barely ajar with light exposed, there had been no way anyone would have seen it from the trail. I kept opening it, feeling uneasy, but hoping it was some sort of buried seismometer at worst, maybe some hiker's idea of a good place to cache food and water for a long trek. Instead, I found the opening to what appeared to be a small burrow of sorts with an electric camping torch at the corner, and I shoved my head down inside to look. The space was small, with enough room for one person if they didn't mind contorting themselves. On the walls of the burrow were dozens of Polaroid photos of people hiking. All the photos seemed to have been taken very low to the ground. The photos were from all over the park, many dozens or more miles apart. Most of the photos I didn't recognize, but among them I saw a few that I knew for a fact were hikers that had gone missing over the last year. Then my heart stopped. I saw a photo of me hiking along the Ipsit Pass trail around a half hour ago. Then I heard a crack behind me, and I took my head out of the burrow and started running down the trail the way I came. It was a twig breaking, and I didn't look back or stop until I got to the wilderness cabin near Ipsit Campground. I locked and barricaded the door and waited until another ranger showed up the next morning, not sleeping a wink. I asked him to walk back along the Ipsit Pass trail with me, and he was annoyed that I wouldn't say why, but agreed. We spent an hour looking, but couldn't find any sign of the burrow. I asked for some time off right afterwards. My manager seemed very suspicious. The manager didn't know why. I made up some excuse about family and didn't tell him or anyone else what I saw. For some reason, I knew that telling would be the best way of me and then losing my job. I don't know who or what made that burrow, but I think it's taking people at Rainier, and for some reason, the government's covering it up. I wish that was in the story, but it's not. This afternoon, I saw something glinting from within the air vent on the floor of my kitchen. I thought maybe my cat had stuck another toy in it, and I took the grating off the vent to take the toy out, and instead of a cat toy, I found a Polaroid photo taken low to the ground of me making breakfast this morning. And that was the last post that person ever made.
That one's just freaking creepy.
That is creepy. Yeah. So anyway, what do y'all think about that? Wubby.
Well, we kind of talked about this Wednesday night, I guess, a little bit briefly. So if you're gonna look at it through the lens of, okay, obviously, unless this guy's saying Bigfoot's out there with a Polaroid, okay, straight.
We've all seen those videos.
Right.
He's out there vlogging, man. Come on.
Yeah. I know, So I guess this was during the Polaroid era. He's been vlogging before, webcams and GoPros and all that stuff. But anyway, I digress, as I usually do. I don't think every single one of these instances that we talk about is Bigfoot. I believe there's a good mix of things that we can't understand or explain, and the human element.
Mm-hmm.
There's I think you and I have talked about, Doc, and probably me and you, DA. We've talked about that. I think it's on iHeartRadio, Heart Predators, where they talk about all the serial killers that operate within the state parks. There's tons of well-documented cases, some that have been solved, some that haven't been solved, and some that are just out and out mystery that they're like, well, hell, I can't tell what caused this. So I think there's a good mix of both that's involved. This one obviously sounds like there was some person that was stalking people and picking out their next target.
Yeah.
It's scary.
But when they talking about that little hidden space, we pulled up the trap door. God knows we could have walked by ones just like it.
Oh, dude.
Many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been in plenty of places just here in Missouri where the woods were so thick we could have never seen something like that unless it was open or there was light coming from it.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy. I agree with Robbie. I think it's people more than anything else. But even still, serial killers are predators in and of themselves.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something predatory for sure.
Yeah, it's just a different kind of predator.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty freaking scary, man. And whoever it was, obviously followed the dude or knew where the dude lived, and because finding a photo of yourself cooking breakfast that morning, a little scary. Actually,
Well,
scary.
They probably would have immediately, whoever was that left that picture. The next thing they heard would have been the slide on a handgun as I started clearing the house.
You ain't wrong, sir.
I'd have been like Major Payne. There's a closet. I heard a noise from the closet. Bam, bam, bam. If he's in there, he ain't happy.
Yeah, and like Camo Dad talking about spider holes are a thing. We use them in
the they are.
They still do, man. They still do. I mean, look at the NVA used them. The DC used them. I mean, that's the thing about it. But
Wendell says maybe that's the metal sounds people report in the woods. It's a possibility.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I mean, and look at it from that human standpoint. If you got all these things that are, all these things that are being reported, all these missing people that are being reported, and they're like, oh, we can't tell what this is. If you were that type of person and you wanted to do this kind of stuff, what better cover than to go in there where there's
already people going missing?
Yeah, I mean.
Yep.
I've often said that if you were a serial killer, the greatest way to hide would be an over-the-road trucker.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Oh, what was
Chris
that?
Burkhart's got a good point. He says, if you go to any remote area, you might have a critter or hill folk that know the woods better than combat trained folks. It's their ground. Bad things can happen in ground you don't know. That is a fact.
100%.
And that's why we always say, even if you're not armed to be prepared for a cryptid, there's still plenty of other stuff out there that can and will hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely. Freaking scary, man.
Well, yeah, like you wasn't here for that show, Doc, but when we had Marianne on, when we went down there to that place in where I went with the BFRO, and that truck came through, and just them two people just acting real weird. And I try and look, and everybody that's there has gravitated behind me because I was the only one armed. And I try and look at them, I said, and that's why I carry, not specifically for Bigfoot, for crap like that, because you don't know what I mean. Animals can be unpredictable, but I'd a whole lot rather try to predict what an animal's going to do.
Well,
I had a person.
Colorado's the second or third most dangerous state in the nation now. That just got released the other day. So, and they're making it harder and harder to get concealed carry here. But I'm like you. That's the reason I carry more than anything anywhere. But out in the woods. I mean, hey, dude, could you run up on somebody pulling security for a meth cooking operation or
Yes, you
a marijuana farm? It happens all the freaking time. And those people they're gone like a fart in the wind. They get disappeared because you're messing with freaking cartels then. So, I mean, you may be messing with some Mexican Americans, but the greater North American meth head, as DA likes to call them. But
that's right.
It's something that to be prepared for any eventuality. But because like this dude, whoever is taking pictures, I doubt highly that's a cryptid, but it's somebody who's really good at hiding. And if they're hiding and taking these pictures, these hikers who have gone missing, well, I would have to say they're doing it for nefarious reasons for sure.
There are two movies that I watched growing up that will absolutely guarantee I never stepped foot in the woods without some sort of firearm. Deliverance and Southern Comfort.
Yeah. Bingo. Yes, 100%, man.
Because without the beard, I look entirely too much like Ned Beatty to go wandering around out in the woods.
Yeah, I just...
Speaking of Ned Beatty, Deliverance was not his only movie where he tried to play sort of kind of a tough guy. I forgot he was in this movie. I watched this movie, Rolling Vengeance, the other day, and I forgot he was.
I've seen that.
Y'all need to watch that.
Never seen it, man.
It's pretty freaking hilarious. But Ned Beatty plays. He's the main bad guy, but he's trying to play a tough guy, and it's hilarious to see Ned Beatty play a tough guy.
In the movie with Mark Wahlberg, Shooter, he played a corrupt senator, and he did that pretty damn well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this movie was like late 70s, early 80s. This is when he was young. This was like same time. So this is like early Ned Beatty trying to play, Ned Beatty in his older years playing a corrupt senator. That's believable. This is him trying to be a tough guy, not just a villain. That's what's funny about it.
I read an article one time, and they quoted Ned Beatty, and they asked him about the movie Deliverance. And they said, "What do you think about that movie now?" He goes, "Well, that marked the last time in my career where I signed on for a movie without reading the entire script first."
Man, yeah. Seeing him play a tough guy be about as believable as seeing what's his name, freaking Ron Howard play a mobster or something. You know what I mean? Holy crap!
Or Ronnie Howard's daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, playing anything convincingly.
There you
go. She can't act. That is the perfect example of a Nepo baby. She cannot act.
Lord have mercy.
But if y'all want to check it out, it's on YouTube. Rolling Vengeance.
Rolling Vengeance. Might have to check that out.
it's not going to win no Academy Awards, but it's pretty entertaining.
I'll have to check that out. But we derailed ourselves just pretty quick.
Yeah,
We ain't even 30 minutes into the show. We done derailed ourselves.
My fault. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm the one that brought up Ned Beatty. But anyway, Mara Rod says, no matter where, awareness of your surroundings is a must. Whatever you have for defense need to be an easy reach. A blade or a lead dispenser in your bag is like carrying nothing. Yeah, mine are out where I can grab them. That is absolutely a must. People are talking about examples. Somebody posted on Facebook the other day, name the worst person imaginable to play James Bond. And my response to that was, I think Amazon's fixing to do that for us.
Oh, Lord.
But anyway.
You think about that. That was such a sacred character for so long. It was 2 people played that character. You know, Sean Connery and Roger Moore were. That was, if you thought about James Bond for what, 20 years, that's who it was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig, and
Timothy Dalton,
and now there's another one coming up that they're talking about. I mean, it's kind of one of the characters that was cemented for a while, and then all of a sudden now it's like, oh well, who's going to be the next James Bond? And like, what are you talking about? Who's the next one? To me, Sean Connery is. There'll never be another James Bond other than Sean Connery.
Yeah, Sean was the best.
And then after that, Roger Moore.
I agree.
Well, one of the next ones I found. This is one of the ones that went missing without a trace and nothing was ever found. His name was Ranger Kirk S. Thompson Olsen, Olsen. He was found dead. They did find him. He was found dead in Yosemite National Park after going missing during a solo backpacking trip. He was a former state park ranger with extensive experience in wilderness environments. He was extremely familiar with where he was at and armed and equipped. And they have released no details on what killed him. And not an animal attack, not Timmy tripped and fell down a well. All they said was, yes, we found his body after an extensive search.
Huh. What year was that, DA?
It doesn't say the year in this one. Let me see if I can consult the Googles. This was last year, September 16th last year. He went missing near Ostrander Lake sometime between August 23rd and 27th. And that's according to Backpacker Magazine.
Wait, there's a Backpacker Magazine?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? So are we going to talk about the or are you saving the one we talked about the other night after the show?
Well, if you want to jump into that one, go for it.
Well, send it to me so I can read it because I don't have it. But I would.
Wasn't that the one that Doc just read?
No, well, the guy popped up a year later and.
Oh yeah, we already talked about that one here on the show. That one we've already discussed that one. So
I thought we talked about that after the show that night.
No, we talked about it actually once on the show.
I knew we talked about it. I just couldn't remember. Sorry.
Yeah, we talked about it after the show, but we actually taled about that one on the show. That was a park ranger.
About so much, sometimes it's hard to remember when we talked about what we talked about during the time.
If I remember correctly, I think that one was in Yosemite. The guy the park ranger went out to check campers along a rim trail that basically follow the trail that loops right back to where you start. That kind of trail. He set out on the trail to check on some campers and vanished. They searched the area. They couldn't find him. And this was a park ranger with many years of service, had made that loop trail many times. That was his general patrol area. He went missing, and they I think there was like 800 or 900 people volunteered to go look for him. It was a huge turnout of people looking for this missing ranger, and they didn't find him. They finally gave up the search after a couple of weeks. Almost a year later to the day, I mean, almost a year right on the money, the dude staggers back into that same ranger station. He's all his gear is in tatters. He's in horrible shape. Looks like he's lost a lot of weight. And he looks at him and says, "I finally got away from those things," and collapses and dies.
Yeah, I thought we talked about that after the show, because I thought that was one of the ones that we talked about that we were like, we need to do a show on this.
No, we actually talked about that one on a show like a couple weeks ago.
Like I said,
we
talked about so much.
Literally said, I finally got away from those things and collapsed and died.
Well, I mean, and just like if you go to the National Park Service, this is not just rangers. There are some rangers on here too. But if you go to the National Park Service, like what we were talking about the other night, there's a laundry list of cold cases on here that these people have disappeared and no trace and cannot find them. I mean, they go from the 2020s back to the 70s, man. And it's hell. I mean, no, there's even one in here from 1958. So I mean, these it's crazy. It's funny, not funny, but it's just weird how there's a lot of people. I mean, there's kids that have gone missing, and there's people who are young and in shape and everything, and then there's older people. So it's a lot of folks. And one of the strangest ones is that Paul Fugate from Chiricahua.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that one, DA? Or
yeah, go ahead.
So this was back in 1980, man, and this dude was 41 at the time he went missing. And almost after 40 years, there's still a search on for him. He went for a hike, vanished without a trace. They even got a reward for $60,000. Basically, what they said was that new Cochise County, Arizona, Mark Daniels wanted to renew their request for the public's help, and they're just trying to dig up newer information about this guy. But he was working at the visitor center, and about 2 p.m. that day, he left the building to hike a trail to go check out a park trail. Never seen again. He was wearing his uniform, everything, and they had search teams that combed the surrounding area multiple times. No sign of him, and they suspected foul play. And the missing person case formally still remains open. And so it's they're hoping now with them bumping the reward up to $60,000 that maybe they'll find this guy. But yeah, this guy's been missing since January 13th, 1980. So
that's a long time to be missing.
Yeah, did he see something he wasn't supposed to? Because I mean, that is cartel area, Cochise County, Arizona. Did he come in contact with something down there? But he hiked on the trail he had hiked on many, many times because he was in charge of that territory. So who knows? Bobby, what do you think?
But it's like we said. I mean, you've got these things that go on that are more than likely cryptid related. But then you got things like the cartel, and you got the serial killers. You got that are, for lack of a better term, copycats, or using that as a cover. I mean, so how do you sift through what's caused by a cryptid versus what's caused by somebody trying to make it look like that just to cover their tracks?
Correct, and because here's the thing: if it was a cryptid and they found the evidence there, these search teams found evidence of some sort of creature, cryptid, animal, whatever being involved. If it's a cryptid, they're going to be like, yeah, we're not saying crap about this, or they'll call it, well, we found animal tracks.
Right.
And if it's a perfect cover for somebody doing crap, with malfeasance.
Exactly, because you're like, yeah, they're
yeah, it's a perfect cover.
18-inch tracks found at the site. No, they're not going to put that. I mean, you're not going to see that plastered all over the website and use hot sheets, whatever you call them anymore, dirt sheets or whatever they are. So, I mean, I think you got the perfect storm in these places of things like that. If things like this are happening in this area, in this the hotbed of this stuff,
yeah,
I think that's why you get the things like the Park Predator series is talked about, where you get a lot of serial killers that want to scratch that itch, so to speak. They go into these places and they're like, hey, this is the perfect place for me to operate because there is so much weird crap going on. I don't have to be as careful, but they're not going to look at it as hard because, you know, people are going to say it was a Bigfoot or a dog man or whatever.
Well, and the territory has such few personnel covering that territory. The chances of them getting discovered is minimal.
Yeah.
So, you know, if they do a risk benefit analysis on there, I mean, the benefits outweigh the risk to do their evil crap there. So, I mean, just like the what's that road up in Canada with the MMIW?
The Trans Canada Highway.
Yeah. And so where all those indigenous, you know, First Nations ladies,
they call it the Highway of Tears.
Highway of Tears. That's it. I knew it wasn't Trail of Tears. That was back in the day. But yeah, I mean, and so that's a perfect area because that's very remote. Also, how many cryptid sightings are up there?
A lot.
So you see, I mean, it's almost like a perfect cover for that stuff. So yeah, and but Vicky says, but if you kill one, then you're gonna have to worry if you're gonna get in trouble because you killed a
government asset.
Yeah, government asset. Absolutely. So
Antonio Vasquez has a good comment. He says, DA, you listen to Chewy Ortega full time in Twin Falls in Idaho. He got chased by a dog man and it followed him to his house. I might have to see if I can locate that guy. It'd be a cool guest to have on.
Damn.
If he's willing to talk about it. Thank you, Kathy. This was actually a handmade leather hat made at Silver Dollar City here in Missouri. And the band is handmade. William Nighthawk made this band for me.
Oh, that's cool, man. I like that.
It came with just a plain black leather headband on it. And I took measurements of it, and William made the hat band for me.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I like that. That's pretty.
Antonio says he's a full-time pastor. Yeah, I'll have to see if I can locate him. That's interesting.
All right.
Fugate is one of the ones that I really find the most interesting, because there is information, but it's sometimes it's even conflicting. I mean, they said his wife acted real shady after he disappeared, making him wonder if she might have had something to do with it. But at the same time, she had an alibi and was nowhere near where he was at. So there's just a lot weird going on about it. Maybe it was just, maybe it was just one of those marriages where she really wasn't that upset that her husband didn't come home. I don't know. But still, there's a $60,000 reward. Somebody would have claimed that money if they knew something.
You think?
Well, I mean,
it's a lot of money.
We talk about that all the time with the Bauman thing. Nobody ever come forward and said, "That's me."
Right?
Who in their right mind? If the president of the United States or the president-elect or the future president of the United States writes a book and puts your story in it and says this, how many times are you not going to be in a bar and say, "Hey, you heard that Bauman thing that Teddy Roosevelt?" "Oh yeah, that's me." Round of drinks. I mean, for nothing else. I mean, you're going to use it for stuff like that, but nobody ever did. So, same thing with a $60,000. You get people all the time the Crime Stoppers hotline that they'll call. "Hey, I got information on this crime," and people have to sift, or investigators have to sift through and make sure it's not a bogus tip, because people are calling through all the time saying, "Hey, I got information," and it's they're just trying to get the money.
Right.
But nobody's ever done it, or nobody's ever called for it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Bauman incident because I want to do another show
Is it?
and do a deep dive on the Bauman incident because I started doing some more digging on that subject. And that valley where the Bauman incident happened, over the last 130, 140 years, there have been dozens of people go missing. In fact, there's been so many people go missing that the USGS and the Parks Department obliterated the trails going into it. They moved.
That's in Montana, isn't it?
Yeah, it's up in Montana.
Okay,
I believe I can't remember the name of the I believe it's the Brown. It's between the Brown and the Salmon rivers, but I could be wrong about that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah, this is good. I like this.
Yeah,
Hey, if any of y'all, I'm sorry, Robbie. If any of y'all out there in chat,
It's near the Wisdom River.
if any of y'all out there in chat have any instances that y'all have heard from your areas, whether it's a state park or national park or anything like that, of a ranger going missing without a trace, chime in. Let us know. That gives us more to talk about.
It's in a valley located between the Salmon and the Wisdom rivers.
the smart fish rivers.
So
Salmon.
that sounds like another place I'd like to go. Of course, we'd have to do it on horseback.
I'll get Jasper. Inside joke.
Jasper.
All right, what's next?
There was another one that I read about. Ranger James Randy Morganson. He went missing in Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park in 1996. They found his body 5 years later after an extensive search. And they say that what probably happened was that he fell through a snowpack into a creek and succumbed to his injuries and hypothermia. But from what I read, he was they think he was crossing a small creek and basically fell through the snow. But I've fallen through snowpacks before. How high was that snowpack for him to have broken both legs?
Yeah, that's a far drop if you're falling into a creek. I mean, was it overhanging and he just got too close to the edge? I don't know, man.
There's precious few details on it.
Yeah, because somebody with any sense knows that there's a creek nearby. You don't get close to the edge, especially with built up snow, because you don't know if there's a false bottom to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, hell, I'm from Mississippi and I know that, but I've been living out here long enough too. So, yeah, it's
this one just seems like there's more to his death than they want to admit.
I would like to know how far away they found him from where he was last seen or something like that.
Because you can't say he died of hypothermia when you're looking at 5-year-old skeletal remains.
Right.
There's zero information there to tell you he died of hypothermia.
Right.
Well, yeah, they jumped into hypothermia on that deer hunter a year or two ago.
The one here in Missouri?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
He died of hypothermia, and it was what? 60,
yeah, it only got in the upper 40s that night.
Yep, it was hypothermia.
And they found his rifle abandoned. He must have laid his rifle against a tree and went to track the deer. Bullshit. Ain't a hunter in the world lays the rifle down and walks away to go track a wounded animal.
Negative. And what's so funny, and DA and Robbie, y'all know we both talked about this, and DA, we were talking about before backstage. When David, we're never going to hear anything about this. They're so tight-lipped on anything that happens in National Park Services because didn't David Pilates say he was met with roadblock after roadblock after roadblock trying to get information?
Mm-hmm. Well, he met with a lot of roadblocks looking just for missing people, right. But he really hit them when he started digging into the missing park rangers.
Correct. So missing people was hard enough, missing visitors, hikers, whatever. But when he started talking about missing staff, they shut him down. And we're basically telling him, yeah, you're not. I don't care if you fill out a FOIA request or not. That's Freedom of Information Act request or not. We're going to deny it because if it's
What-
still
what
an
they
open
tell him not?
investigation,
Shut up
if
and
it's-
color.
huh?
What they tell him? Shut up and color.
Shut up and color, because they said, and the way they get around this, and y'all know this, being law enforcement, it's an open investigation. We can't give you any information on it.
Yeah.
Why do
Can't
you
comment
think?
on an open investigation.
Why do you think that Paul Fugate dude, that one from Chiricahua, 40 years later, his investigation is still open?
Because they don't want to admit what they know.
Well, the FedEx driver, that case is still an open case.
It was an Amazon driver, but yeah.
Bingo.
Or
Yeah.
Amazon, whatever. One of them.
Yeah, and they've still not released the necropsy on the dogs to say whether or not the dogs had human flesh in their stomach.
I wonder why. Because maybe
Because they didn't find any.
the dogs that they had to go in the house to shoot that were
Yeah,
not
the dogs that were inside.
outside the house. It was that.
And the body of the guy was outside the fence by his truck.
Wow, man.
And it's not like the dogs were starving. The dogs had food and water out for them.
Yeah.
But supposedly they attacked and partially ate this guy.
Miss
Outside the
Lene,
fence while they were in the house.
have a good night, Miss Lene. We're
Good
sorry.
night, Miss Lene. Hope you get to feeling better. You get some rest now.
Yeah, I mean that was all those circumstances around there. But like I said, all of the how do they prevent you from, even if you fill out a FOIA, it's going to get denied because it's still an open
It's an
investigation.
open case.
So, and especially anything in dealing with Department of Interior. So, isn't that who manages NPS?
Yeah, I believe so.
So, yeah, they covered up by keeping them open. Just what Mara said. Ooh-wee. Scary stuff. Going in the woods. Be careful.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I would not be going out past dark in these woods out here at all. Oh, Just Ryan has a good point here. The problem is when the unhoused who turn to the woods for open air lounging go missing, nobody there to report them. DA, that was in one of your books, was it not?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that many
We
times.
talked about, we here in town, with county, we referred to them as urban outdoorsmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they go missing, nobody reports it. And nobody takes it seriously if they do. But like, it's an itinerant population. They move around.
Yep.
Yeah. They don't pay taxes. They don't do a census. So there's no record of them.
You got to have some place to be missing from to be missing. Is what a lot of them look at it. And if you don't have that, then how are you missing from somewhere if you don't have somewhere to be missing from?
Yeah. If you don't really officially exist, because if you're not paying taxes and you're not doing any kind of census reporting or anything like that, and you don't have a social media presence, you don't have credit cards, a bank account, do you even exist? You know what I mean?
Nope.
Yep.
So if they go missing,
what did damn US put the number at of missing people?
630,000 a year go missing, or reported missing.
I think we looked and said you could probably add another 100,000 to that with the transient population.
Maybe even more. Yeah.
To be safe.
Transient and illegals.
Yeah.
Because nobody reports them missing either.
Just to put a conservative number on there, add another 100,000 or at least 150,000 on that for transient.
I would just say flat out, probably call it 800,000. Probably go missing a year.
Yeah, because you think about it, you got your transient, you got your illegal, and you also have indigenous, because they don't report. How many indigenous women? 40, 50,000 every year go missing.
And what was it they said? There's only 3 things that the U.S. government identifies by blood quantum: dogs, horses, and Native Americans.
Yeah.
So clearly, the U.S. government is not going to get excited.
No. So 800,000. That's almost 1 million people a year, dude, that are gone like a fart in the wind. That's nuts. That is nuts. It's
look at the Alaskan Triangle alone. In the last 30 years, 66,000 people have gone missing in the Alaskan Triangle, in the least populated state in the U.S.
66,000 in 30 years. Jesus,
In
that's like
the Alaskan Triangle.
That's an average of 2,000 and some odd people a year. That's insane.
And like you said, the least populated state in the country.
Now, granted, probably a lot of those were hunters that got killed by a bear, or somebody that got off trail that didn't really know what they were doing and got lost, because those were some dense woods.
You
how many of that is from violent predation? And by violent predation, I mean of the two-legged hairy variety.
Yeah.
We already know there have been towns that have been abandoned in Alaska because of it.
Like I said, you think that it's, people just getting off trail or stuff like that, but we've heard all the stories that Fred's talked about. That's like a common occurrence up there, is those really big aggressive ones. So it may not be as big a number of people just maybe kind of sort of getting off trail, or the regular predators as you'd like to think. I mean, the numbers for it to be an actual cryptid may be a lot higher than what we would become.
Well, let's just say that 1% of the missing were cryptid related. That's still over 6,000 people.
Right. I mean, even if it was 0.5%, that's 3,000 people.
That's 3,000 people.
That's a buttload of people, man.
Yeah.
Dear God. That's like my whole town I grew up in. Gone. That's kind of scary.
But when you start thinking of numbers like that, look at those percentages and say, of all the sightings that are reported over a year's time, if just 1% of those is true, or if just one of all those sightings is true, that means it's real.
Right. I mean,
and that's something that people trip over.
Absolutely. I mean, the evidence is there, and it's just like in David Paulides, on this in 411, when you're talking about the national park systems and the big, and then the cryptid sightings, and then the cave systems and everything like that. I mean, if it walks like a duck,
and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
It's probably a duck. And then if you go into a little subset of the missing people in the national parks, of those missing people, let's go into the park rangers or park employees, not just rangers, park employees, because there's maintenance people that go missing as well. Yeah. So, I mean, are they injured? Yeah. I mean, you got to chalk some of it up to just natural selection.
Well, you have a sprained ankle when you're deep in the woods. A sprained ankle can be fatal.
100%.
I think and we've talked, the three of us have talked about this several times before, but I think you just kind of keep hammering home the point. It takes way more faith to believe this is a hoax than it does to believe this is true. Because
just like that article I posted the other day about Bigfoot.
What would it take to keep this going as long as it's been going for it to be a hoax? How big of an organization would this have to be?
It'd be massive.
It makes absolutely no sense to me. If you are a person that has logic and common sense in your head to look at this and see all this stuff and say, that's fake.
Exactly.
But if people would look at it under the terms of how hard would it be to keep this hoax going, if it is a hoax, people randomly going out in the woods in some deep remote area and putting a set of fake footprints out there in hopes that somebody would find one.
Right, because a lot of those prints are found in areas so freaking remote. I mean, that track we found in Combs Ferry, what are the odds somebody was going to come into Combs Ferry by boat in the middle of the damn night to find that track?
Right.
And the deer hide hung in the tree.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what? I think I'm going to go to Combs Ferry
and put some Bigfoot shit out and see if anybody finds it.
Throw a deer hide up in the tree, because I think there's somebody at 11, 12 o'clock, midnight, somewhere around there that's going to come around this, and they're going to come right by here without lights on, and one of them is going to be just sly enough to be looking to his left, and he's going to see something that looks in that tree like it don't belong, and he's going to turn his light on, and he's going to see that.
Yep.
Because that's how that happened. Me and White.
Yeah, because it was just a fluke that it was spotted.
I just happened to be looking at White when we were walking by there, and had I been looking straight ahead, I'd have walked right by that. But he said something, and I turned to look at him to say something, and just saw that in the tree. So what are the odds that was put there by somebody as a hoax versus
precisely?
It blows my mind.
Well, it's kind of like that night me, you and Noah were in Joe Bald.
Yeah,
we saw that eye shine. People don't have eye shine,
or the freaking deer head in the middle of Blunt Road.
Yeah, nobody knew we were going out there, and that is in the ass crack of nowhere.
I think these three idiots are up Joe Bald right now. I think they're going to come down to Blunt Road, so they're going to be down here in about another 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and put a deer head out in the middle of the road.
Yeah, because we decided that at the last minute.
Yeah. I just the thought process that goes through some people's, or the lack of thought process that goes through some people's heads, it astounds me, and I don't know why. It astounds me from the job I do versus and doing this stuff. Why it surprises me that people still think that way, but it does. I can't understand how people can look at this and logically, or try to logically reason that something like this doesn't exist because it's a hoax.
I know this isn't a park ranger, but I read this.
Explain me, Doc. Explain me.
I know this one isn't a park ranger, but this is when I got to thinking ranger, this one popped in my head. I read this account probably a year or so ago. Probably should have brought it up before now, but I remember reading it and was waiting for the right opportunity. But we're talking rangers. This was not a park ranger. He was a U.S. Army ranger. He was going through ranger training down at Fort Benning, Georgia, and came nose to nose with a Bigfoot, and he wouldn't shut up about it. So they cashiered his ass out of the Army.
No way.
Yeah, he was an E6 named Simonson, and he ran nose to nose with one during survival training as a ranger. And he went back and said, "I ran into this damn thing," and described it. They're like, "No, you didn't. It was a bear." It's like, "Oh, no, goddamn bear!" And he wouldn't drop it. And they yanked his clearance, kicked him out of the Rangers, and discharged him.
Holy shit! Wow. Yeah. What they tell you to do, Robbie? Shut up and color.
Shut up and color.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just best to go with the cover story, boys.
Yeah. True, though.
Not in my county.
Man. Dang.
If what we had to work with was like, one print every couple of years, or, one blurry picture every, just very rarely, or we didn't have all these things like we talk about with all these cultures having stories about them and all, maybe. But how many times do you got to walk into a wall before you say, "Oh, that hurts"? There's a wall there.
Yeah. Before
you realize maybe I shouldn't walk into that wall. How many times do you have to see this kind of stuff to sit there and say, "Well, maybe there's something to this"? If every time I walk through a door, somebody punched me in the mouth, it wouldn't take me about two times to start ducking and holding my fists up. So, I mean, how much of this evidence do you have to see before you wake up and say, it's a possibility, like we talked about with the Billy Apes. I mean, oh, no, that couldn't happen. That couldn't happen. There's no way. Well, there, 98 DA?
Yeah.
When National Geographic found them?
Mm-hmm.
So, and obviously we probably know that there's video of them somewhere that some government agency has somewhere that they're just holding on to. But I'm talking about, the rank and file of the general public that's just like, y'all are crazy. Y'all are smoking crack for believing this. Those people are the ones that I'm talking about.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
geez.
I'm on my box tonight, but it just drives me up the wall.
Well, and the thing is, they're so arrogant about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
You're crazy.
right? Like, no, actually, I'm not, man. I know what I saw. Let's see here. Hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly, White.
Hmm.
Definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result.
Yep.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Meanwhile, Bigfoot out there just jerking people out of the national parks. And
Let me show you guys a picture here. I just pulled this up. They refer the billy ape is also known as the Bondo ape because they're also located in another area in the Congo called the Bondo region. So they call them the billy ape or the Bondo ape, and this one's being referred to as a Bondo ape.
so is this an ape that likes to do body work on cars?
Yeah, Bonnie does car work.
He's the Bondo ape.
Taller than a human and eats lions.
Huh.
And you can see it does resemble a chimp, but not just like one.
This sucker's huge.
Mm-hmm. If you look down here at the bottom, it shows you an average person standing next to it.
That's a big unit.
Yeah. Now imagine that same type of thing at 8 feet tall.
I'm good. Man. Holy crap. And imagine something 8 feet tall, that big, that can move extremely silently, extremely quietly.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'll be right back. We're top of the hour. I'll be right back.
All right.
Pardon me.
I mean, yeah, all jokes aside about, Mr. Bodywork Ape there. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one, the Bondo Ape. But all joking aside, I mean, that's like you said. I mean, that
thing is twice the body mass of a chimp. And a chimp is what, 6 to 10 times stronger than a human?
Yeah, at least, if not more.
A chimp can tear a human arm off. What the hell could that thing do?
And
then scale it up for a big.
Then think about the story we talked about it on the show that guy owned that chimp that couple, and it ripped the guy's face off. I mean,
yeah,
yikes!
Bit their fingers off. And,
yeah,
chimp can do devastating damage to a human. Now scale that up. The Bondo or the billy ape is on average bigger than a person, walks upright, and you saw how much more massive its build was than the human next to it. I mean, that thing's built like a linebacker.
Yeah.
So that sucker could probably flip a car.
It kind of makes you think that some of the stuff you've written in your books about things they do, maybe I wasn't exaggerating.
Yeah.
Well, what did they say? A gorilla's 10 times strong, or as strong as 10 men ish, give or take?
Let's consult the Googles.
I know chimps are stronger than at least 3-4 people.
Yeah,
because that's how the lady got her face ripped off.
That's what we were just talking about. That couple that owned that chimp.
It says gorillas are significantly stronger than humans, typically estimated to be 4 to 10 times stronger in terms of upper body strength.
So let's just say a gorilla's as strong as 10 men.
If you could press 300 pounds, it could probably press closer to 3,000.
So scale that up for gorilla, so that you would say probably a gorilla, or excuse me, a Bigfoot is as strong as 10 gorillas.
Maybe even more, because body mass wise, it's probably 2 or possibly even 3 times the size of a gorilla.
Use easy numbers to let's just work with tens. If a gorilla is 10 times stronger than a man, then a Bigfoot's probably 10 times stronger than a gorilla. Maybe more, like you said. So that means that it's 20 times stronger than us.
This one's saying
that means
your average gorilla upper body strength alone can support over 1,800 pounds.
Well, and the bone density, I mean,
bones are thicker and heavier.
Doc, you muted too, by the way. You're talking, but you know.
I was just saying, holy crap.
Holy shnikes.
Yeah.
So, using, like we said, using those conservative numbers, if this thing is 20 times stronger than us, you got to say 20 times stronger than not the average human, 20 times stronger than somebody like Brian Shaw or Eddie Hall or Thor, Hathor Bjornsson. Some of these guys who are like peak level humans. Like,
did you see that video of Conor McGregor and Hathor Bjornsson sparring?
Yep. That's pretty realistic of what it would be if we were going after.
Yeah. And those guys were just having fun, and McGregor couldn't even dent him. Didn't even slow him down. And all he could do was try to stay out of his reach, because he knew if that big sumbitch got a hold of him, it was over.
He was toast.
And they were just having fun. They weren't seriously trying to hurt each other. But Conor was like, Jesus Christ, I'm glad we weren't fighting for real.
I mean, yeah, could you imagine the strength? I mean, it'd be like you're a flea, man. It could, like the twisting your head off thing, like you write the books. Yeah, that's a real thing, dude. It twisted off like it's opened up a screw top long neck. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you can't say 20 times stronger than just us three average people here. You gotta compare to what the peak of our. So if it's 20 times stronger than one of those guys, what can it do to the average person?
True. Well, I mean, okay. Let's remember when Jesus was on the show, and he was talking about that horse. How they found a horse that had its hind leg
ripped off,
torn away, not cut, but literally.
The amount of strength that would require would be incredible.
I mean, just because a horse. Oh my
Hell,
God,
a truck couldn't do that.
No, that's insane, man.
You would literally have to have at least 2 trucks, one tied to one side, one tied to the other, and going in opposite directions, and both of them probably in 4-wheel drive with a hammer down to have even have a chance to do something like that.
Yeah, so I mean that right there kind of puts it to scale, just the kind of strength that people are dealing with, and to think that a game warden. And okay, let's say, what are they armed with? A 9mm service pistol? I don't know what they use.
I know the park rangers up in Denali carry 44 Magnums.
Okay, so they got a little ass to them. But even still, if you don't hit something heavily muscled, heavily boned like that in a vital area, and you're under
and they for rifles, they carry heavy shit. One of them that killed that bear that we talked about on the show, that like 13-foot grizzly bear, he shot it like 2 complete loadouts while backing up and reloading. He emptied a 7mm Magnum, reloaded as he was backing up as it was coming, and emptied it again before he killed it.
Good God. And I know some of them up there carry 458 Winchester mags.
A 7mm Magnum will do a lot of damage.
Oh, absolutely it will.
It'll pre-tenderize a deer for you.
I mean, it's just a little bit, just a hair smaller than a 300 Win mag. So I mean,
right.
that sucker's cooking. It's got some velocity, but I mean, we got to think about if you hit something, a large apex predator like that, and it's not a mortal shot. Even if it is a mortal shot, they're pissed off and wounded. And what do those pissed off and wounded creatures do?
Oh, pissed off animals are the worst. The ones that are wounded. You ever trying to track a wounded bear?
Mm-hmm.
You better eat your Wheaties because it's going to fight.
Think
And
about,
it's desperate.
think about this, the stories of, I mean, look at, Lone Survivor, where they talk about, or you see some of the scenes that those guys went through, that they got like shot over and over and over again, and they still were like trying to complete their mission. If an average person that is well trained can go through that, what can something like this, that if you, like you said, Doc, you're not causing enough damage,
And humans are surprisingly fragile. For them to keep fighting after being shot that many times, that's a testament to human endurance right there. But imagine trying that with 1,000-pound grizzly bear or a 1,400-pound Sasquatch,
Right. I mean, it's because Senior
or
Chief.
that guy that shot Hogzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, because Senior Chief Mike Day was in a room with 4 insurgents, and they were armed with rifles and pistols, and they shot him 27 times. He killed them, and he walked to the medevac chopper after being shot 27 times. I mean, that's
You look up badass in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of that dude looking out at you.
pretty incredible. Hey, Vicky, before he goes away, Vicky had a good question. And I don't know, DA, I mean, have they ever found any bear remains that was killed by another animal or Bigfoot?
I don't remember reading anything about that, but it is so rare that they actually find bear remains.
Yep, that's true.
It is very rare. I've been in the woods in Missouri so much, and I've never once seen a bear skeleton. It's rare to find a deer one, unless you're at Combs Ferry, Joe Bald, or Blanc Road.
Blanc Road, yeah. Combs Ferry, yeah. Yeah.
And that is because there's no other predators that are stupid enough to go in there and mess with that stuff.
Except for us 3 idiots.
Well, dude, I'm telling you, I still get a little bit of a pucker when I think about that night when me and Robbie and Noah were driving down there and I saw that deer head in the road. I mean, to me, that was just, I'm like, who puts a deer head in the middle of the damn road?
Well,
in the middle of nowhere.
Didn't you say it was like ripped off too?
Oh yeah, it wasn't cut off. It was torn off. It was also missing its eyes, its lower jaw, and its tongue.
That sounded like a warning sign to me.
Well, we didn't take it that way. We parked and got out and walked back up there.
Of course you didn't. That was a, come on in, boys.
We're fixing to get it.
Y'all check this out. I mean, so what do you think these park rangers do that go missing? I mean, they're up in some territory that obviously has sightings, and if they're out, is it an opportunistic thing, you think, from these creatures, or is it an encounter that goes awry? You know what I mean?
How many of them, Doc? How many of them are just your average everyday person? It's just like maybe just working a summer job that has zero situational awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 has really no that's just a myth. That thing doesn't exist, and it's just out there thinking, "Oh, do. I'm just doing my job." And the next thing they know, they're like this other guy. They're off in the cave somewhere for a year, doing the Bigfoot tango.
You also got to factor in just how far out in the butt crack of nowhere they are. That night you and I were down at Hulls Ford waiting on Chris when we went to his house, when we kept hearing something in that swampy area behind us.
Yep.
If something would have jumped us, ain't nobody out there going to hear us.
No.
And that was in a parking lot.
Right. Yeah. We were a good ways off the beaten path.
When John worked up in Yellowstone, he would go hiking on some remote trails, not very popular trails, but trails he knew that some of the guys there and gals there knew were good fishing spots, right? And so he would be in some very, very desolate areas, and he's like, "Yeah, I had my bear spray, I had my 454 Casol with me in a chest rig." And he said, "But even still, I could have been bear poop at any time."
Yeah.
So, or now we know other kind of poop. Who knows?
Hey Doc, in that cold case file, on the National Park Service cold case file. Did you notice a trend there? The bulk of the missing, the cold cases, were from 3 places: Yellowstone, Rocky Mountain National, and Grand Canyon.
Yep.
The bulk of them are from those 3 places.
Well, hadn't there been a lot of places in the Grand Canyon here recently that have been closed down?
There are areas of the Grand Canyon we're not allowed access to, and haven't been since they opened it as a tourist destination.
Really?
Well, I'm saying there's some that they have just recently closed down.
Yeah, they've closed a few more.
Huh. Dog my cats.
There's areas in the Grand Canyon you can't even float to on the river.
I'll be dang. I had no idea. Man, and that's ironical that there's also a high percentage of people who just vanish without a trace. I mean, in some of them it could be natural causes. I mean, there's if you're elderly, and I'm not, and this is not picking on the elderly population. This is what it is. It's fact. If you fall down and break your hip, just like a sprained ankle could be fatal, so can that. You're going to die from exposure. If you are dehydrated, you get a heat injury, something like that. The very young, very old, but you got people who are like super, super fit. And I mean, yeah, freak things can happen, but
Julian Sands,
Yep.
the actor.
Yeah.
He was an award-winning hiker who had hiked that trail many times before, and it was considered a relatively easy hike.
Yeah,
and he went missing.
And they still haven't found his remains.
I think they finally found him.
They finally found him. Yeah. I'll be right back, boys.
Okay. Yeah, interesting stuff, man. And then, like you said, the park rangers that have gone missing. The amount of information out there is.
I think we're just scratching the surface because they are not admitting when these rangers go missing.
No. Well, and just like that one park ranger from Rainier said, their bosses, their superior, telling them, "Hey, y'all need to, shut up and color, do your stuff. This is handled. As far as you're concerned, this is handled." Just like Vicki Dennison says, Superstition Mountains, same thing. A lot of people go missing. Just Ryan, the Grand Canyon. Now imagine the stories from the local tribes in those areas, and I guarantee you that crap goes back eons about people disappearing.
Larry Berlin, DA, are those the Egyptian sites in the Grand Canyon? Yes, they are.
Yep.
Those areas where they found that cave full of Egyptian artifact is part of the area that you cannot access.
Is that not the strangest thing, man?
That is freaking bizarre.
I mean, that could be a whole nother show right there, but it is odd. It is very odd that that's in those are the no-go areas. Just like if you're flying drones in certain areas, there you have to file a flight plan with the National Park Service to get clearance.
And you cannot deviate from that electronic fence.
Nope. You have boundaries. You have no-fly zones within a national park. Why is that?
Because those drones don't fly high enough to the commercially available civilian ones don't really get high enough to interfere with aircraft. And there's not a lot of aircraft flights that aren't 35,000 feet over a national park.
They'll put a geofence around. Like you have to fill out like ungodly amount of paperwork to be able to fly inside a national park.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll put a geofence around it. And if you go over that geofence, you're subject to lose your drone and much other stuff.
Fines and arrest.
Kathy thinks her chat is frozen.
I don't know.
Mine's moving.
Here's a guy from Yosemite National Park named Kieran Burke. Went missing April 5th, 2000. Burke was 45 years old when he went missing. A white male from Ireland, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, thinning black hair with blue eyes. Burke was last seen in Curry Village, an area of Yosemite Valley, at about 10 a.m. on April 5th, 2000. He was believed to have been preparing to start a hike.
and has been missing for 25 years.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy, man?
Oh, here we go. Another one. Yosemite National Park. Missing May 25th, 1998. David Paul Morrison. Morrison was 28 years old when he went missing. White male, 5'9", 150 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a gray long sleeve USC sweatshirt, black pants, Nike running shoes, and a black, green, and yellow fanny pack. Morrison was last seen in Yosemite Valley at 5:30 a.m. on May 25th, hiking to Half Dome. Which, if I remember correctly, the hike from Yosemite Valley to Half Dome ain't that far, and it's clearly marked.
It's a easy to moderate trail. It's not a difficult trail. I mean,
from the picture, he looks like he was in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and he's wearing freaking tennis shoes. It's not like he's wearing. You got to have ice axe and crampons and hiking poles and pulley system or anything like that. It's a fairly easy day hike.
Here you go. Dan Campbell, missing from Yellowstone. Date, April 8th, 1991. Campbell was 42 years old at the time he went missing. White male, 5'8", green eyes, brown hair, hiking with an Australian Shepherd dog. Campbell and his dog were dropped off at a trailhead at Hell Roaring Creek on April 4th to collect deer antler sheds. He was looking for elk sheds. Campbell was reported missing on April 8th, 91. No sign of Campbell or his dog were ever found.
That sounds familiar.
Man.
Timothy Tim Barnes, Yosemite National Park. Missing since July 5th, 1988. Barnes was a 25-year-old when he went missing. White male, 6'3", 180 pounds, dark brown to black, straight hair worn parted in the middle and shoulder length. Brown mustache, brown eyes, small bump or wart on the right side of his nose. Last seen wearing a white t-shirt with a red circle around the letter F with a slash through the letter F. Gray sweatpants, worn tennis shoes, brown frame sunglasses, and carrying a yellow day pack. Barnes was last seen walking north from Murphy Creek Trailhead at Tenaya Lake at 9 a.m. on July 5th, 1988. He was starting a day hike to the Polydome. Also, a relatively easy hike.
Yeah. That's some weird stuff, boys.
Yep.
Oh, here's a longer one. Here's a longer one. Stacy Ann Aris, Yosemite National Park. Date missing, July 17th, 1981. Aris was 14 years old when she went missing. White female, 5'5", 120 pounds, blonde shoulder-length hair, naturally straight. Last seen wearing a white pullover windbreaker, white jersey blouse with square neckline and lace trim, shorts with a vertical half-inch maroon and white stripes and intermittent sky blue pinstripes, gray hiking boots, rough outer leather and Vibram soles, gold-toned anklet, and a retainer on her upper teeth. Aris began a 4-day trip with her father on the High Sierra Loop at Tulum Meadows. They were part of a group of 10 people riding mules to the Sunrise High Sierra camp. The group arrived at sunrise at about 3 p.m. on July 17th, 81. After settling into her cabin and taking a shower, Aris began a 1.5-mile hike along a trail to Sunrise Lake. She intended to hike with a 77-year-old man who was part of the group that rode to Sunrise that day. Before getting along the trail, the man became tired and sat down to rest. The guide who led the ride to Sunrise was working at the corral and noticed Aris standing on a rock about 50 yards south of the trail. The guide was reportedly the last person to see her. 14-year-old girl.
Sounds
vaguely familiar.
Yeah. Just a little bit familiar.
And why do and if they, even if it's a park ranger missing, why do they not utilize their own park rangers? They utilize quote unquote search and rescue teams.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Guys, there are so many of these cold cases.
Yeah. Tons.
Tons and tons and tons.
George Pinka, Yosemite National Park, June 17th, 2011. Pinka was 30 years old when he went missing. White male, 5'10", 240 pounds, dark brown hair, blue eyes. Last seen wearing gray sweatpants with a white stripe down the leg. Either a black t-shirt with D and B on the front or a black tank top and gray-blue running shoes. He was carrying a blue cloth bag. Pinka was hiking with a group when he became separated and went off by himself. He was last seen about 2:40 p.m. on June 17, 2011 at the top of Upper Yosemite Falls.
Yeah. Like I said, how many times do you have to walk through that door and get punched in the mouth for?
And there's just case after case.
I'm going to go home, punch your mama in the mouth.
Yeah.
Look at this. Josh Al says, "Hey, DA, I had some pretty interesting and odd things happen hiking in Yellowstone when I worked at Canyon Village as a porter for Xanterra in 21 through 23. Josh, I'd love to hear about those. Can you shoot me an email? That would be awesome."
Interesting.
This is Eric Testerman. He said, "I've been in my county work truck and tried to ask park rangers about stuff like this. They chuckled and said, I work in the office. I don't know about these things."
You don't work in the office.
I asked a Missouri Department Conservation guy one day, right out here at Springfield Lake. He was out there checking fishing license. And I stopped and talked to him and I said, "Hey, you guys get a lot of Bigfoot reports?" And or we talked for a little bit before I brought that up. I didn't just lead with that. And I introduced myself, told him I was a writer, and told him about my books, and then he just kind of led into the question. And you know what he did? He smiled and he patted me on the shoulder and he says, "DA, I like you, but not enough to lose my pension," and walked off.
Well,
I'm like,
well, it's just like the phone calls and the visits and everything like that you've received, and
24-hour service.
Mm-hmm. It's not a coinky dink, man. I'm a firm believer in that. It's not a coinky dink. It's interesting. What else we got? Let's see here. Here's another one. Check this out, man. Grand Canyon National Park, June 17, 2016. Floyd Roberts III, 52 years old when he went missing, 5'11", 170, brown, gray hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a red long sleeve shirt, denim jeans, Nike sneakers, backpack, and sunglasses, carrying a day pack. He became separated from his companions during extreme heat conditions, so it could be environmentally related, while starting a multi-day hike in a remote portion of Western Grand Canyon on the Shivwitz Plateau. The group planned a 9-day hike that would exit the canyon via Separation Canyon. He was last seen near Kelly Tank, heading toward Trail Canyon, 214-mile canyon, Shanley Spring area towards the river, but may have descended into the 209-mile canyon. Following an intensive 6-day search effort, the incident remains unresolved, and the search is in continuous limited mode. So still an open investigation.
A guy with a red shirt on could not be seen from the air, because there's not a lot of scrub pines or trees in Grand Canyon.
Yeah, there's not anything red last time I recall.
Yeah, well, there's kind of a red clay, but it's not red like a flannel shirt.
Right. Yeah, it's not like a unnatural.
That would stick out like a sore thumb out there.
Right. Who knows, man? This is interesting. Leslie Tranum says on Dateline, I think there was a story about a man who went missing in the Superstition Mountains, and one of the searchers went missing as well.
So there's a lot of crap goes on Superstition Mountains.
Bro, you wouldn't find my little butt up in there.
I'd go.
I started to shake my head no, but you know me, I'll probably.
Yeah, we'll go. Me and Robbie'd go.
We'll just put an air tag on you.
It was like, yeah, I probably would. I mean,
Yeah.
Who's low jacking Robbie on this trip?
I'd go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would, but I would.
I'd go in the group.
Like, I got 1,000-foot spool of steel cable on him this time. I got him.
Yeah, it would be. It would definitely be a trip where you would have to have very careful planning as far as
supply drops, constant radio communication, sat phones.
%, man, and plan for every eventuality, because if you plan for every eventuality and something happens to you, well, I mean,
We'd take more than one medic. We would
Correct.
take everybody'd be armed.
Yeah, it's
multiple modes of drawing water.
Know your sources of water,
Exactly.
everything like that. So make sure your trail traverses known potable water. So it's scary. Maisie says, DeNapoli says, oh my God, maybe they're eating them. Who knows?
Could be. KC says, are there any open investigations on missing groups? I don't remember reading any missing groups.
I hadn't heard either.
I do remember reading about one. I believe this one was in Denali, and this wasn't a park ranger. A guy and his wife day hiking. Wife hurts her leg. Says, "I'll wait here. You go pack out where you can make a phone call and get somebody here." Guy packs back out a couple miles where he gets phone signal, calls it in. The ranger said they got somebody on the way to help get her out. They get back to the trailhead, find their vehicle, go down the trail, find the woman, but the guy was never found.
They found the woman, but the guy was never found.
Right. Found her still sitting on the rock waiting for her husband to come back. And he went down the trail where he got a signal and was supposed to come right back. Their vehicle was still there. And he was never found. No trace.
Holy crap. Dang, man.
Denali's in the Alaskan Triangle.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Well, me and Angie was up there in the last frontier. We were up in a little town called Talkeetna, and you could see Denali. You could see the Three Sisters Mountains right there, is what they call them. And we were at the confluence of like three rivers, and we were out in the woods, and we both were packing 44 Magnums. So,
Sean, I'll have to do some digging to see if I can find any in Ohio.
scurry. Yeah, Camo Dad says normally it's separated people. So yeah.
Yeah, there are people that have gone missing from groups, but I can't remember reading anywhere an entire group went missing. Oh, that is not true. That is not true. What's the name of that valley? The Nahanni Valley. A bush pilot dropped off a group of people half a day's hike from the Nahanni Valley because he couldn't land in Denali. Land in the Nahanni Valley. He landed as close as he could, dropped them off, and was supposed to come back and pick them up in a week. He lifted off, went back, left, and when he got back a week later, they weren't there. So he called in because I believe that it's in Canada. That the Nahanni's in Canada. I believe he called in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and they never found a trace of the entire group. It was like 6 people.
Jesus.
And they were all armed.
Well, that's also called the Headless Valley, right?
Yeah, but they never found a trace of any of them. Not even they didn't just find them missing their heads. They didn't find them at all.
I honestly don't know if I would go up there or not. I mean, it'd be intriguing, but holy crap, man! Sorry.
Yeah.
Supplement time.
I wouldn't go either, Doc. You buy that, right?
Wyatt says the group of people in Dyatlov Pass, does that count? No, because they found them. They found the bodies. They went missing and were located. Granted, they were found under some pretty freaking weird
They
circumstances,
found
but
like the eyes missing and
tongue missing.
Tongue's missing and
hold on 1 second, guys. Be right back.
Antonio Vasquez says everyone's got cell phones. They know where you are. How can you go missing? Well, you get out in some of these places, you get no cell signal, and there's no cell tower to ping a signal off of. And once that phone goes dead, they can't track it. So, or if you drop it in the water and it dies. But a lot of these places, even the places that we go when we go out into the woods, you ain't got shit for cell signal. So they can't track you by your cell signal when there's no signal to track.
Yep.
Which is exactly why we've been talking about trying to create a satellite uplink for when we're in the field, which may be closer than we think. Roxanne says, "Didn't they find the campsite messed up?" Yeah, I believe they did. They found their gear and they found their camp, and it was destroyed, but they never found any of them. There was another one, a bush pilot in Alaska, dropped off a group of about half a dozen deer hunters. I'm not deer hunters, elk hunters at a remote camp in Alaska. And when he took off, he reported seeing a Bigfoot creature moving through the trees near the camp. And when he came back 2 weeks later to pick up the hunting party, they were gone. The camp was destroyed, and there were expended brass all over the camp. And they think the Bigfoot came in the camp, and they went down with a fight. But they never found any of the bodies. They didn't find a body of a Bigfoot, but they did find discarded firearms and a lot of empty brass. Rodney says, try rapid radios. Might have to try that. Vicky Dennison says, hey, I've got no cell service down at my barn. Yeah, there are places here in Missouri where you're cellular dead zones because they don't see any point in putting cell towers out in the middle of the freaking Mark Twain where there ain't nobody needing it. But like him or hate him, Elon Musk is starting to create a what do they call that? A Starlink cell service. It's going to be included on a lot of cell phones and in the new Tesla phones that he's supposed to be coming out with, which gives your cell phone, when it has no signal, your cell phone will be able to attach directly to Starlink. And when that happens, that's going to be a game changer for us being out in the woods.
Yep.
Camo Dad says, only thing you have that goes ping in some of those places is an M1 Garand. Betcha. I'll let my Freedom ping with that bad boy. Darcy's Wiki says, I've been ghost hunting in towns here in Wisconsin that are dead zones as far as cell phone service goes. Yeah. Well, heck, out where I used to work in patrol, out at Walnut Grove, for the most part, that town is a cellular dead zone. There's only like one company that even gets limited coverage out there. I think it was AT&T at the time. But if you had anything other than AT&T, your phone was just dead. Without buying an expensive cell phone signal booster for your house and for your car. Roxanne says Elon has the phone out, but on back order as many that has been ordered under $400. Yeah, the next time I upgrade, that's probably the phone I'm going to get.
Yep.
Old World Cryptid says, what's up? What's up, man? Casey says, Robbie, I'll have a drink in your memory. Probably in all of our memories. If you go missing, we're probably with you.
No, it'll be Doc out there reeling in what's left of a 1,000-yard pool.
Shotgun working.
Damn it, he's gone. We lost the bait.
Well, we know if we're anywhere near the doll village, Doc ain't getting out of the car. In fact, if he sees anything move, we'll just hear him driving off.
Bye.
I'll probably only get one Robbie getting a truck at that location.
Yeah. There will be
as he's power braking it.
Yeah, there will be a full tactical retreat in order.
Because you gave me 3 when the Bigfoot was coming at us. Get in the truck, Robbie. Get in the truck. Get in the truck, Robbie.
I do remember that. Yeah, that was creepy, man. That was creepy.
I think the last one was, I'm leaving your ass if you ain't in the truck in 2 seconds.
I mean, do you think these park rangers that go missing, do you think they get complacent?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, maybe they just get so used to being there that they're not paying attention to their surroundings.
I think that's what I was talking about earlier.
Lost their situational awareness.
You get the young kids, because if you remember, Jonathan Morris used to be my partner when before he left the police department and took over the rec department at the city. He worked as a park ranger for like 2 or 3 summers while he was in college. About 85% of these park rangers in these places are like that. They're college students that come in and they work in these places, and they don't. It's just a job to them. It's just a summer job. It's just no different than us.
Got no situational awareness at all.
No situational awareness. No. Jonathan told me, he's like,
and that's dangerous in a park. I mean, you could still wander up on a bear or a mountain lion and get yourself ate.
That's what he told me. He was like, they didn't give him any training. They weren't like, okay, now you could see a bear out here, you could see a snake out here, you could see this, you could see that. It was just like, all right, you go check on this, you go check on this, you go check on this, make sure you put gas in the vehicle, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. But there was no situational awareness, no safety briefings, unless there was like a situation where there was somebody who went missing or whatever. Then they were like, okay, somebody went missing, you need to make sure we're looking here, or whatever. But just for everyday operation, there was nothing. You would think
that's setting those kids up to get eaten.
Yeah. So I would say probably about 80 to 85% of these park rangers are probably in that same situation. They're just college kids that are just working summer jobs, and if they could care less, and they have no situational awareness, and they walk into crap like that.
You're not talking seasoned outdoors people,
Exactly.
So, I mean, they're sitting there posting crap to their Snapchat and their Instagram and their TikTok and everything else. And meanwhile, there's a freaking 12-foot grizz behind them that looking to make them into bear poop. So, yeah.
Greg, you're always welcome to go along anytime you want, brother.
Yes. Please.
Darcy had a good question here. Let me show it on the stream. She's a question on the Yeti. Do we think they could be related more closely to the Genosqua than Bigfoot? I'd say behavioral wise, yeah.
I mean, I'd say they're all, in the same genus. I guess that's the right word, right, Doc? Same
kind of like how
yeah.
mountain gorillas and lowland gorillas are still gorillas, but they're very different.
Yeah, you just got a different subset to that species. Yeah, I mean,
like bears.
Yeah,
there's like 24 different species of black bear.
Well, just like rattlesnakes, there's I think it was 27 different subsets of rattlesnakes.
Yeah, you got Mojaves, you got timbers, you got easterns, you got canebrakes, you got timbers, you got,
pygmies.
Pygmies,
Oh, we had a pygmy rattlesnake in our house, Mississippi.
Sidewinders.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, they got all kinds. So, yeah, I mean, it's just like that. And like DA said, with the aggressiveness of them, because that's what they think got the Dyatlov Pass folks, is it not?
Yeah.
Yep.
To do that kind of damage that not a person could not do.
Well, when they did the autopsy, one of them's rib cage was crushed.
Yeah, like something
that takes a lot of strength.
Yeah, and didn't one of their little jaw ripped off?
Their tongue was missing and their eyes were gone.
Okay.
And they tried to say that the avalanche had crushed one of them, there's not enough pressure to crush somebody's rib cage. It would have suffocated them, but it wouldn't have crushed
that, and the incline that they were on. Any avalanche that would have happened would have only been going on like a 12 degree incline. It was not a steep incline for an avalanche.
Why it's the sidewinders are a-holes. True.
Nope, ropes. Every last one of them.
All rattlesnakes are a-holes. It's like wasps. All wasps are a-holes.
But the funny thing is, more people get killed every year by lightning strikes than they do by rattlesnakes or by
more people get killed by cows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was reading something that said literally like there's only 1 to 2 fatalities a year reported now. It's less than 5 per year of snakes because there's such good care. I mean, it's expensive because you're talking $23,000 a vial of antivenin, and it's going to take multiple upwards of 20 vials. So,
yep.
Hate snakes. Anyway, what did Eric say? There was a note across the road in front of the work truck. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of them, man.
Yeah, don't care for them.
Yeah, and like who was it said? Timber rattlers really want nothing to do with you. That's true. Amy WC. Yeah, most snakes, they're just gonna, they don't want to be.
The feeling's mutual because Doc don't want nothing to do with them either.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, especially if they're a king snake, I'll leave them alone. But just like cryptids, I honestly do believe, and we've said this before, all these subsets there's some that are more a-holes than others. Some may be curious, some may be just, hey, leave me the hell alone. And then others are like, yeah, you come on my territory, I'm gonna stick this uprooted tree up your butt and use you as a popsicle. You're gonna be a meat sickle, and so yeah, and rip your head off.
I needed a new flag to put in my front yard.
Plant goldenrod in your yard; it mellows out the wasps and hornets. And also, marigolds will keep snakes away from your house.
Yeah. Goldenrod. The only thing about goldenrod is I have highly seasonal allergies to that crap because I grew up with it in our field right back behind our house, in our pasture back behind our house. It was.
Rodney says there's only 2 kinds of snakes: live ones and dead ones.
That's what my daddy used to say. Yeah, I mean, but like I said, with these cryptids, there's some that I think just want to be left alone, and some that'll just as soon rip your head off as look at you. So,
and I think a lot of them are kind of the middle ground too, that are very opportunistic, that ain't going to come looking for you. But if you stumble into his living room, he's like, oh, look, delivery.
And I think that's kind of what we were talking about the other night when we were talking about, by and large, I don't think the cryptids out there are looking for us or looking at us as food sources, but the ones that do, they're there and, it happens, but those are the ones you hear about. It's just like, you don't ever hear about the good things the police do. All you hear about is the bad stuff. You don't ever hear about the good stuff that, that
you can crawl into a burning car and save a child that's buckled in the back seat and it won't make the news, but swear at an old lady.
And I think that's kind of the same thing. We've talked about it, bad publicity is what sells. So it sells the papers and drives the machine. The same thing here. I mean, if somebody goes into the woods and they have a peaceful experience and they come out and they talk about it,
that doesn't mean every experience is going to be that way.
Yeah, but honestly, they're like, who cares? But if somebody, goes missing, or somebody comes out and they're screaming, those are the ones that generally you will see in places. You won't see a whole lot other than places like where we're at, but in the shows that we do, where we give every encounter credence until something. What's the word I'm looking at? We look at every encounter and say, it's possible until something happens. We say, okay, well that's BS, or
Yeah, I mean, until,
that's really
until it's proven otherwise, then yeah, I mean, it's stay open. Look for like we've always said, look for the scientific rationale as to why this can happen, and then if it's outside the realm of the normal, then, and I mean, you could say cryptids could be in the paranormal. You know what I mean? Because it's outside normality,
Right.
and so yeah, 100%, man. But don't just discount it. Have an open mind to it. I say that from having my very first encounter. I had an open mind going into everything, but when I saw what I saw, and then y'all confirmed it, then that was that definitely changed.
Thermal don't lie, Doc. Thermal don't lie.
Changed my thought process, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Antonio, I don't know what to make of that encounter. I've heard about it, but since I'm really not that much into alien investigation, I really haven't thought too much about it. But yeah, it's an interesting encounter. Anyway, go ahead, Robbie. What were you going to say?
I was just going to him pacing back and forth in the hotel room.
Thermal don't lie.
Thermal don't lie.
Right.
Thermal don't lie. Thermal don't lie.
I have dreams about that.
And I was like, "You're right, Doc. Thermal don't lie."
Dude, I still have dreams about that encounter intermittently, and so it's interesting, and it makes you more aware. I mean, I was always very aware, but it makes you go out in the woods.
Have we talked about the dream yet to publicly, or has that just been with the three of us?
I don't remember if we mentioned it on the show or not.
A dream,
because I just wonder if that has a lot to do with it.
I don't know.
Because you did not start having that dream. I didn't have that dream, and DA didn't have that dream until we had that encounter.
True. Yeah.
So, there again, who knows what that means?
Casey said we talked about it on the show.
Okay. I couldn't remember if we did or not, but
Don said, DA, did you see that thing I sent you on Nessie? Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch the video yet, though.
Wow. This has been an interesting 2 hours. It's been good.
It's been a good show.
Just Ryan says, thermal don't lie. If you fart, we'll know it. You can't blame it on anyone else. Brother, if I fart, you ain't going to need thermal to know. Or Harley. Oh, my God. You ain't going to need thermal to know that.
Or Wes's old heart, Rangers.
Jeff said today was his son's birthday. Happy birthday. Jeff, tell him happy birthday for me.
I mean, I just think that there's a lot of correlation with the things we've talked about before, and then this stuff that that DA has brought to light in this show. The thing, if you want to be a conspiracy theorist and you want to say that there's something going on in national parks, but you don't want to be the person that says it's cryptids, I think there's enough evidence to say that there are things going on in these national parks that you could very well, like we've talked about in the show, say, okay, yeah, there are predators, and I mean of the human variety, that are operating in these national parks, and just with the story that Doc read, I mean that kind of lends to that, but that doesn't explain every single one of these encounters.
I think happy birthday, Arlen.
Happy birthday. I think you have to look at this through the lens of one thing does not explain every single, it's not just bears, it's not just wolves, it's not just humans. It's not just Bigfoots or not just Dogman. It is. This is like, what's the word, Doc? A plethora.
Yeah,
It's a plethora
a veritable potpourri.
of. But just because you have things that you can't explain does not mean you have to look at it and say, well, that's a conspiracy. That's this. That's that. Like Doc said, you got to keep an open mind and look at the entire situation, the totality of the circumstances, if you will. Basically,
What you said.
yep. DA knows what that is. The totality of the circumstances.
I know every time I would say that as part of my testimony, defense attorneys would go, they hate that phrase.
Yep. That's like, God dang it. He knows that phrase. Crap.
Because you can't refute it.
No. But my point is, yes, you can say that some of this stuff is people. Yes, you can say some of this stuff is bears. Yes, you can say some of this stuff may be wolves. Yes, you can say some of this stuff may just be people wandering off and falling in a unknown hole or whatever somewhere, and their bodies are never found. But those don't explain every single one of them. There has to be other things that go into this, and you have to be open-minded enough to say, maybe it's other things.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like we said, if just 1% of all these things, just 1%.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a fact.
That's a great show recap wrap up, Robbie. Yeah. That's true though. It is true. Be open. Be open. Unless it's proven otherwise, be open. And don't be quick. Don't be dismissive. Don't be so quick to dismiss it to something that just because you don't want to look into it further for fear of finding out that, hey, maybe whatever goes bump in the night is what you thought it was, but didn't want to admit that what it was. You know what I mean? So don't be so quick to dismiss these things.
Exactly.
Because it's easy to be skeptical, and being skeptic, that's fine. Be a skeptic. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make you. But be a skeptic with an open mind. Because if you're a skeptic and immediately dismissive of everything, then nothing's ever going to exist.
I think we approach everything that we look at with a skeptical mind, because we're like, how many times have we sit there and looked at a situation and said, "Oh, it absolutely is this," the very first thing.
Oh, dude, we absolutely have debunked stuff in real time out in the woods when we were all there. We're all like, could it be this? Yeah, it could be, but look at this. This is what it is. I mean,
just think about me and you back after we had the encounter on Blunk Road. Me and you, after we dropped DA and Noah back at their house, we went back to your hotel room before I went back to my room, and we sat there for what, 20 or 30 minutes?
At least, dude.
Well, what if it was it? Well, yeah, but okay. Well, what if it was it? Well, yeah, but, and we went over every feasible thing that we could possibly think of. Was it a raccoon sitting on top of a pole or a stump? Was it a stump? Was it this? Was it? We did that. We went over everything we could possibly think of. That some stuff that might have just been off the wall, and we couldn't explain it.
And I think that's the way to be, because that's what DA had said years and years ago when I started doing the podcast. He was like, "Look, man," he said, "we're going to use a scientific method. We're going to attempt to debunk this stuff, and because we should try to debunk it first, and the first thing we do, versus immediately going to, oh my God, it's a cryptid for sure."
And case in point, when we found that deer hide, after we dropped everybody else off, and it was nobody left in that truck except me, DA, and Noah, and we were driving back to DA's house, the three of us sat there and we were like, okay, what is here in this state that the three of us are currently in? What is in this state that could have killed a deer?
Right.
And we came up with all the possible suspects. And we're like, okay, could suspect number one put that hide in a tree like that? We're like, absolutely not. Could suspect number two? Absolutely not. Could suspect number three? Well, it's tall enough, but it doesn't have the faculties to be able to do it in the position. Okay. And we went through everything before we finally said, okay, we are 100% sure between the three of us that this is what happened and this is what caused this. We went through every possible scenario that we could think of. Now, did we go through every scenario? Who knows? But we went through every one that the three of us could come up with and think about.
Well, the way that was twisted into those tree branches, the conclusion was it had to be something with thumbs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, and even going back to Steve's thought process when he was sitting there looking at it, and he's looking up in that tree, and he's like, because he and I have talked about this, and I'm sure he talked about it with y'all too. He's like, he said, as a nurse, I'm sitting here thinking and looking at this. He said, that has been mechanically separated. Last time I checked, there's no alligators in Missouri that are going to do death rolls on this deer that are going to disarticulate a front leg like that.
Yeah, because that was twisted off, not just cut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could still see the sinew and the tendons that had been twisted and frayed. The hide did not come off smoothly like somebody had cut it. It was a whole chunk of hide that basically the joint had been twisted loose and then yanked free, which took hide probably all the way up to the neck with it. Because there was a lot of hide still attached to the end of that leg.
Crazy. But, you tried to debunk it. First and foremost, let's see what in this area that's indigenous to this area that could put that up in there in the manner that it was placed there. That's the big thing.
And the fish head too. I mean, that was within 10 yards of where the deer hide was.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went back that last time, neither of them were there because we looked for them.
But there were other stuff. I mean, there were other.
There's another chunk of deer flesh up in a tree. There were more tracks.
Yep.
Lots of scat.
Oh, dude, yeah, lots of scat. A lot of doo-doo.
But that's poop for you who don't know what scat is.
That's a lot of doo-doo. Yeah. Man. Time flies. It has been it's been good. And we only derailed that one time, really. So I was pretty happy about that.
That was pretty early on, too.
Yeah, it was. It was. We usually wait till later on to completely just knock it off the rails.
Well, I want to get it out over and done with.
Yeah.
Just call it.
Yeah.
Oh, mercy.
Robert D says he's seen pics of elk's legs up in trees like that.
Woo!
That takes a lot of force to pull off an elk leg.
I was just thinking that. That's a big unit to do that. Good Lord. Golly.
Just Ryan has a good comment. He says, I think cryptozoology in general got screwed by the coelacanth because the scientific world is always looking for a carcass when it doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Makes absolute sense. Well, y'all, we're going to start winding things down. I hope you guys enjoyed us rambling on tonight. But all of the stuff we talked about tonight is 100% searchable. You can find every one of these on your own. We've got some guests coming up in the future, but it won't be for about a week, Robbie?
Next Wednesday and then July 2nd. I think next.
Is it Wednesday or Saturday?
Saturday. I'm sorry. Yeah, we had one Wednesday, but that changed to July 2nd. So not a week from today, we have Tressa and Jenny from was it the Monsters Lounge? Is that what we?
Yeah, I think it's the Monsters Lounge.
Yeah. Because I think that's why we messed up, because we were just calling it Monsters, but it's the Monsters Lounge. We got Tressa and Jenny from the Monsters Lounge, and then on July 2nd we got Coley Weber from SNX Radio. We're going to do a little UFO show with her. So we got those coming up in the next week or next 2 weeks or so, I guess. But
And maybe this Wednesday, you want to do that deeper dive into the Bauman story?
I'm down.
That sounds good.
Because
Talking
over
about
the
that.
last 130, 140 years, it's not just the Bauman incident.
Yeah.
That valley has had dozens, and I do mean dozens, of people go missing in and around it. So look for that on Wednesday as we re-explore the Bauman incident in that particular valley. We'll talk about the missing persons and the cases involved with that. And then for the shows after that, we got some guests coming on. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So folks, definitely jump in with us. We look forward to having you guys join us. Don't forget to check out the good folks over at Dark Angel Medical. Doc, you want to take a second to give us just a little bit of information about Dark Angel Medical? And when you're done, Robbie, would you want to say a little bit about Scalawag Tactical?
Sure.
Well, hell yes, I'm down like a fat kid on a seesaw. So, folks, y'all check out Dark Angel Medical. That is the little company I started back in 2011, and we specialize in making anything from minor first aid kits all the way to major first aid kits. And we also, not only that, we provide you not only with the equipment, we provide you also with the training. So we have classes all over the United States. The only thing you got to bring to the situation, if you got one of our kits and have our training, is to bring the right mindset. So head over to darkangelmedical.com. Check out our kits. Check out our training. If there's a training opportunity anywhere near you, there's a Stop the Bleed certificate associated with that training. And also, if you're a paramedic or EMT, we have 16 hours of accreditation through CAPSI for continuing education units. And if you use a coupon code CRYPTID20, that's 20% off anything in your order. And also, our kits are HSA, FSA approved, and we will replace anything you use in one of your kits if you save the life of yourself or someone else, and just let us know about it. That's called our Kit for Life guarantee. So head over to darkangelmedical.com, get your kit, get trained, and be the difference.
With 205 saves to date.
205, baby. 205, keeping them alive.
Robbie, you want to tell us a little bit about Scalawag?
Scalawag Tactical is another one of our affiliates. They make some of the best blades that you can get your hands on. This is the Redonda. This is pretty much kind of what is taking the place for the
Gunner's Mate.
Gunner's Mate, and the U.S. Marine Corps now uses this instead of the K-bar. This has replaced the K-bar as the U.S. Marine Corps fighting knife.
Really?
That's badass.
Yeah.
Way to go, Craig.
They've got this is the Tonto, and they've also got a spear point. So you get a hold of a Scalawag Tactical blade and get it in your hand. These guys will tell you they feel amazing. There's just Craig and his boys put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of research into their blades. Go check them out. Use discount code DAERoberts10, and that does count for the blemish blades too. And the blemish blade thing, don't worry about that. A lot of times that's just a box has been messed up or something like that, and Craig don't want to sell that as a new blade. I think DA's got one blade that he's looked at, and he's got a lot, but he got one blade that he finally found one little bitty scratch on, and you can't even see it unless you have a.
You should point it out.
Yeah, unless you point it out, you got a set of microscopic, or not microscopic, magnifying glasses on so you can see it. It's right. Very small, but you can get you some good deals on that. And they've got some. I went on there the other day, and I was like, I didn't even recognize half the blades that are on there. He's always coming out with new stuff. So go check them out. Tell them we sent you. Code DAERoberts10 at checkout. That's all I got to say about that.
And I don't have a pop-up on the screen set up yet, but I need to get it. Don't forget to check out the good folks over at Sigwo Arms. If you're going to be in the Springfield area next weekend, they are doing a little shooty shoot. The details can be found on the sigwoarms.com or also on their Facebook page, which is just Facebook Sigwo Arms. But they're doing a little shooty shoot for those of you who are of the type who enjoy your pew pews or your cordless Freedom Seed distribution devices. This one is different than the last one. Yes, there still will be automatic weapons there that you can rent and fire. But they're also going to be displaying all of the models of whisper pickles or suppressors, if you will, that they carry in stock and can custom fit to your own personal weapon. They're inviting you to bring your own gear to this one, so you can hear what your favorite pew pew sounds like with a whisper pickle on it. So, check out sigwoarms.com or go to Facebook's Sigwo's Facebook page and check that out. And RSVP if you're coming, because they kind of like to have a head count on how many to prepare for and what kind of ammo to have on hand. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and they're going to be doing several of these a year, where you can shoot automatics or shoot suppressed or things like that. So make sure you like their sigwoarms.com, Sigwo Arms Facebook page, or check out their website, which is again sigwoarms.com. And if you're into the wild hunt and you want a custom AR build with the AR or the wild hunt logos, they're the folks that'll do it. They're the only ones that hold the license, and they will be making a whole line of those. So check them out. Let them know we sent you. Tell Cody we sent you, and that you're a big fan of not only this show but of the Code Name Wild Hunt books. So I hope you guys will check them out. And again, join us this coming Wednesday night. We're going to do a deeper dive into that valley where the Bauman incident happened, and talk about the incidents that have happened over the last roughly 140 years. Some of them are going to surprise you, folks. You're really, truly going to be surprised. We're going to close her out with a toast. It's something we've been doing for a while now, and something I'm pretty proud of. And I'm going to go ahead and take my hat off for it, set it off to the side. So if you got a glass of anything, it doesn't matter what it is, if you guys will raise a glass with us. This is from an old Irish drinking song called The Parting Glass. And it talks about saying goodnight at the end of the day at an old Irish pub. But when you listen to the lyrics, it's talking about a lot more than that. It's talking about saying goodbye to those we've lost along the way. And since we lose 42 veterans a day to suicide, this verse is particularly poignant for me. Check on your friends and family who are first responders. Check on your loved ones who've worn a uniform or veterans in any capacity. Let them know you think about them. Let them know you care, because 22 a day is 22 too many. Let's get that number down to 0. So if you all will join me for the toast, it goes like this. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night, and joy be to you all. Good night, everyone. Slán Ma, and we will see you on Wednesday night. Slán.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAExMachiNation. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.